getting closer to what Spurs basketball means.
We don't have experience, right? Screw it.
I feel. I ain't gonna say that we back or nothing, because that implies that we're back from something.
He's an alien.
Feel like Shaq and Penny got back together. You tore the game apart. Who put it back together?
I don't really put any limits on what our team could do. We can beat any team in the league.
You're watching NBA Countdown, presented by Lilly.
It's a little bit of a bummer. No Victor Wembanyama tonight for the Spurs game against the Blazers with that rib injury that he suffered on Monday. It's going to be the 16th missed game for him this season. The Spurs have 2 more games to go in the regular season. So he's got to play in one of the 2 because the big bad 65-game rule rears its ugly head again. Shams Charania is here with us here on NBA Countdown. Are the Spurs optimistic, Shams, that they're going to get Victor for one of these 2 last games?
Malika, there's confidence that Victor Wembanyama will be able to play at least one of these final 2 games as soon as Friday against the Dallas Mavericks at home, potentially. The good news for the Spurs, test showed a bad bruise to his rib, and that can impact his breathing. So right now he is day-to-day, though. He needs to play at least 20 minutes in one more game. The Spurs, Victor Wembanyama, very confident that he'll be able to do so potentially on Friday.
Okay, but trouble breathing, that sounds like it could be a little bit scary. So hopefully he's okay and he's able to play.
And he's going to get that 1 week.
Yeah, he gets that 1 week off, and that's going to be important because we're all wondering ultimately what's Vic going to look like in the playoffs, because he's been sensational in the regular season, and yet he's never crossed that 40-minute threshold. What are you hearing about how confident the Spurs are that that's something he's going to be doing in the postseason?
The Spurs are viewing the regular season as a ramp-up period for the playoffs. And anyone that knows the Spurs and their history, it's all about the long-term, the health of the player. And we've known Victor Wembanyama, he dealt with an injury in December that sidelined him a few weeks. And so they're going to be intentionally careful with him anytime he has multiple injuries over the course of a season. And think about it, over the weekend in Denver, that game that went to overtime, he almost got to that 40-minute mark. So that just goes to show they're getting there minutes-wise. Come playoff time, you know it's going to be hard to keep Victor Wembanyama off the court.
Yeah.
And, again, the week in between will serve Vic and this team good notice.
Yeah, just to get a little bit of rest here before the playoffs begin. But you said that this is a ramp-up period. If this is what Victor Wembanyama can do in a ramp-up period, imagine what he's going to be able to do when he crosses that 40-minute threshold. Shams, great outfit, nice matching here, and we appreciate the insight. Year 3 of Victor, it's been historic. We've seen so much success, and a lot of it's unprecedented because the Spurs, they have 60 wins this season. That's after they missed the playoffs, of course, last year. They're the first team since Perk, your 2008 Celtics, to do that. But your Celtics...
Who was the starting center on that team?
He was handsome.
Oh.
Yeah, but he was starting center the year before when they missed the play.
Hello, Wendy.
Well, they had...
It's too much information.
They had, you got Ray Allen on that team, you had Paul Pierce on that team, you had Kevin Garnett on that team. There was playoff experience kind of up and down the roster on that team, and that's the biggest sort of knock on San Antonio, the question of if that is going to come to bite them in the postseason, Perk.
Well, I don't feel that way because I got the Spurs winning the NBA championship. Wow. Okay. I believe that,
Has he said that before? I have not heard that before.
Yeah, I'm going to say it again right before the postseason starts. I just feel like they're a group with old souls, and it's led by Victor Wembanyama. When you go in the dictionary, you look up the word generational, it's going to have his name right there by it for the definition of generational talent. And the way that they play, yes, they're going to have their ups and downs offensively, but the one thing that they're not good at, one area that they're not going to struggle is defensively, because you have Wemby, because you have Stephon Castle. And when you think about what the position that they put themselves in with the number 2 seed, they're going to have home court all the way out through the conference finals. And we know that role players play better at home. So they didn't put themselves in position where majority of their games are going to be at home, which is going to play in their favor.
I have no doubt that the Spurs will be cautious with Victor. I also have no doubt he can play 40 minutes. I want to know if he can play 40 minutes 4 or 5 times in 10 days. And right now, they're lining up with Denver in that second round. Play up against Jokic 4 or 5 times, Aaron Gordon 4 or 5 times in 10 days. That's what I'm not so sure about.
I never understood the logic of, first of all, why would he have to pay 40 possibly if they're beating people easily? But why do we worry? Because there's no player averages that many minutes during the regular season. He wouldn't be an anomaly if he did it. This is That's typical.
With Victor's, maybe some might say his body type or the injuries that we've seen him deal with in the past, he's never been a high minutes player.
Well, I think at times he didn't have to. A guy averages closer to 30 points a game.
That's right.
In a short span. Efficiency is better than the amount of time. He's so efficient in his time that it allows the Spurs to have 60 wins in those minutes. So every player knows if you're a starter that you're going to jump up 3 to 4 minutes in the playoff because the rotation's short down. We don't play 9 and 10 because we don't play back-to-back games or whatever. So we play 8. So even the Stephon Castle's in minutes is going to increase to 3 to 4 minutes. That is not unusual. I don't understand why they don't think
is the experience
Wemby can do it.
Part of it for you?
Not in terms of minutes.
But in terms of just a general playoff experience in a team that's so young, trying to contend with if they're going to get to Perk's lofty expectations, a team like OKC, who last year was facing these same questions, but had all the answers.
Without question, experience plays a part. I'd rather have the guy who's doing the camera who's been here 10 years than the guy who's his first day.
Why, you don't think you look as good with the guy?
Sometimes, but it doesn't mean the guy in his first day doesn't mean the guy in the first day might know better angles, might have something new that you haven't seen before. So,
giving you something new.
He's going to be fine.
Donovan Mitchell, though, he was listed as questionable for most of the day with an ankle sprain, but he's strapping up those together just one winning season and won only one playoff game while going 29 games under 500. And the Bulls this week, they made some changes. They fired a bunch of leaders in their front office that also traded away Zach LaVine, Vucevic, DeRozan, Kobe White, Alex Caruso. And here's the kicker. They received just one first-round pick for all of those deals. And yesterday, owner Michael Reinsdorf, he gave fans a glimpse of what was to come next.
Thank you all for being here. I want to start by speaking directly to our fans. I hear and I understand the frustration, and I feel it too. You deserve a team that competes at a high level and that is building towards something real and sustainable. Responsibility for delivering that belongs to me. If I interview someone and they're not sold on Billy, and they're not sold on a Hall of Fame coach, they're not sold on a person who's won championships in college, who's gone deep in the playoffs with Oklahoma City, who I believe with the Chicago Bulls every year, given the team that he was given, I think he achieved really good results. Not the results that we wanted, but that's not because of Billy. Now is the time. We tried the other route, it didn't work, we failed, and now we're in position to get this right. Clean slate. So that's kind of how I went through the process.
Okay, so Reinsdorf is saying clean slate here, except that there is a condition, right? The new general manager, Billy Donovan, is their coach as long as Billy wants to be their head coach, Sham. So what's exactly been laid out here for whoever is next in this job?
Well, right now the Bulls are going to start their process, likely potentially hiring a search firm to assist this. And this process could take 4 weeks, 6 weeks, could be even longer than that to find that. But the Bulls' job that we're see now open, it is still viewed as a premier job. One, because of the market. Two, because of you see the loyalty that the Reinsdorfs have had for years, for decades. When I talk to people around the NBA, it is viewed as a top job under those circumstances. And yes, Billy Donovan is someone ownership wants to continue to move forward with as long as he wants to be there, and also give him an input on the roster and an input on the potential president/GM hire. That's going to be a room. If Billy Donovan stays, that's going to be Jerry Reinsdorf, Michael Reinsdorf, John Paxson, who's a senior advisor. He ran the Bulls for a long period of time. And Billy Donovan, if he stays, that's kind of your core group to decide the next head of basketball operations. This is a team with 7 first-round picks moving forward. They've got ample cap space. So they are well positioned here in that market to turn this around.
And Chicago, despite what the product on the court the last couple of years, Chicago is still a city that NBA players historically have wanted to live in. But Shams, you said a couple of times, if Billy Donovan wants to stay. Does he? What have you heard, Brian?
Well, I think a couple years ago when the Thunder started this exact same process, they were moving to a different situation. Billy didn't want to be there. Billy didn't want to be a part of the rebuild, and he asked out of his contract. The Thunder let him out of his contract, and he immediately went to a team that was more ready to compete, which was the Bulls. So the question is, this is going to be a rebuild. We see the agony that coaches are going through on a nightly basis who are going through rebuilds. I get why somebody wouldn't want to do that. I think it is interesting that Michael Reinsdorf basically, he even